Everyone to this morning. Okay, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about how these principles can be used as a sword. Got like my nice sword from my Wonder Woman costume. Yesterday, I talked about how we can use them as a shield. Hi, Sally. And how they can help us defend or reflect off other people's garbage and intentions that they want to put on us, right? But in this case, today we're going to talk about how you can use them as a sword. So I do a similar class for people. I talk about this in a similar way when I'm talking about how people can use contracts, both as a defensive shield and as a sword to achieve their goal and to get what they want, right? So in this case, we're going to talk about how these principles, how would these principles be used as a sword to cut through the bullshit or to get you to your goal, right? So think about it that way. They can be used as like, I guess it's kind of an attack mechanism, but not really attack, right? You're attacking wrong ideas, attacking false ideas. So how can we use them to attack false ideas, right? To cut through the bullshit. Hi, Victor. Nice to see you. So for instance, hey, Brenda. For instance, if I'm going to talk about something, if someone is coming after me with a concept or an idea saying that, well, people shouldn't, do whatever it is with their body, right? If someone comes at me with that kind of idea, then the idea that I say, okay, well, actually, if you have full ownership of your body, right? Then how can you tell me I can't choose to do a particular thing with my body if it's not hurting anybody else, right? Because I own my body. So and when people are like, well, this and that and the other, and, for the benefit of society and all the rest of that bullshit, I'm like, well, actually, as long as it's not hurting anybody, and the effects are not bad for other people, there is no reason that I cannot do what I want to do with my own body because I own myself. I own my body. And the idea is that when you really understand logic, you say, okay, either I have a full ownership right in my body as my property, or you have to believe I don't have an ownership right in my body. My body is not my property. And if that is the case, then you have literally cut out from under people the entire underpinning of our moral framework. And the entire concept that says that slavery, murder, rape, that these are immoral and bad acts. Literally by saying that I don't have a property right in my own body, and that is not a full and inalienable right, okay, then you're saying that those type of acts are not fundamentally immoral. See, because the reason that gives it that morality is that underpinning. So when you can speak logically and clearly about these concepts to people, you can undercut the false ideas. There are many false ideas that sound really good, but they're actually from a false place logically, right? So that is why we want to understand what the correct idea is. That way we can cut through all of the other ideas. What's another false idea that you can use these principles to cut through? I've talked about it before. It's the greater good argument. We should force people to do something with their body for the greater good of society or for the greater good of others. Whenever you're looking at an argument like this, take it to the extreme. That's the important thing. Take it to the extreme and say, is it still true? Okay, so when we say we're going to do this for the greater good, well, do you think that we should take a young child and murder them, kill them, an innocent child, because their organs would be helpful for 100 more people? And so obviously that's for the greater good, right? No, of course, we think that that would be a completely wrong and immoral act, because that child should not be killed just so that other people get to have longer lives and healthier lives and use her organs, right? Now, the utilitarians would say, well, weighing the life of one child against 100 valuable members of society, then you should make that exchange. And sadly, this is what happened under communism, right? When they massacred millions of people, because the communists were saying Stalin, Hitler was doing the same, right? He was arguing for the greater good argument, saying that what are the lives of this small group of people? It wasn't small, it was millions and millions of people, right? But comparatively speaking, what is the value of these lives of people if they are damaging our society and they are not, in Stalin's case, right, they might have been people who were intellectuals or politically against the government. And so he slaughtered millions of people. The same thing happened in Cambodia with Pol Pot, right? And Hitler with the Jews. So when you think about this concept, in each of these leaders' minds, in each of these governments' minds, their argument was, we are doing this for the greater good of our country. We are forcing people, forced moves, forced medical procedures, concentration camps, right, for refusing to give up their beliefs. All of this sort of stuff was happening. Now, when you think about that, they thought they were doing something for the greater good of their society. But the outcome, obviously now with hindsight, we look at it and we say, that was a massive violation of human rights. Millions of people slaughtered, their rights, their right to their body, their right to their life taken from them, so-called for this greater good argument. Now, when I give you an example like that, where I say, well, we kill this little girl to save the lives of 100 people, most of us are going to be like, yeah, no, that's not right. That's immoral, right? We get that. We have that sense that that is wrong, that that's immoral. But when I say something else, like we give all of these people a certain kind of medication and maybe a few 100,000 of them are going to die from it, well, too bad, it's for the greater good, right? Now, that case, you're saying we don't even get a choice in that. They're just doing it. And if your body has a bad reaction, tough luck. It's kind of like they have this sense, and when they're talking about like, oh, it's just a casualty of war, right? Too bad you were in the wrong building at the wrong time and that got bombed, right? That's just too bad that happened. That's that sense, right? Which is not true. We are in a civilian society. So when anybody is trying to take away your rights, you have a weapon to explain that concept. You have a weapon to cut out the foundation from under them and from under that concept. And that concept is the greater good argument, which has been universally used throughout history to justify some of the worst atrocities in the world. And so that is a false argument. If you want to justify something, you have to justify it in a way that is fundamentally true, okay? And that's totally different. But you cannot say we get to abuse people, we get to violate their rights, we get to do these things to them because it's for the greater good. That is a false analogy. That's a false argument. And this sort of logic can cut through that argument because we understand that when I fully own myself and my body, I get to choose. When we talk about the relationship of the deal, right? We talk about the relationship of the deal and the 5 elements of a deal. And I explained to you that as one of those elements, you have to know what the information is about the deal you're entering into. You have to have a full understanding of that for this to be a valid exchange and a valid agreement, okay? Which is why on the labels of, pharmaceutical drugs, the government makes them list all of the possible bad side effects that can happen by taking a drug. Because the idea is that the person who is taking that drug needs to understand what the risks are. They need to be clear on that before they choose to do that, before they choose to put that drug in their body, right? If they are not given an understanding of what the risks are, then they are not making a true choice. They're not actually able to make a free and valid decision. So what happens when people are trying to cover things up? This is what the pharmaceutical industry has been sued for just so many times, thousands of times, okay, for basically not reporting side effects, not reporting things that are happening with their drugs, not reporting when they discovered that people were being sick or killed or having like really adverse side effects. Hey, Harshita, good to see you. And when they did not report these things and they did not list these things on the drug sheets, right? And then people had these side effects, people chose to take the drug because they said, oh, well, this is going to help you, right? And they didn't list all the possible downsides. Then that person is not entering into a true and fair agreement or exchange. They cannot make a true choice because they do not understand all of the implications of that choice. This is why we say, if you're going to enter into a contract, right? This is why the contracts, they have just so much language in there listing out all of this stuff, because that way you can say, look, I read the contract, I understood it, I know exactly what I'm agreeing to do, what I'm not agreeing to do, I understand what the risks are, and so I can agree to this contract. You understand? When you're putting a drug or something in your body, then you're having to say, okay, I know what the possible side effects are, I know what the risk is here, but I believe that the benefit outweighs the risk in my particular case, so I am willing to accept that risk in order to get that benefit. But without that true understanding of what the possible risks are, I am not given a true choice. This is what I'm getting at. So that agreement is not valid. That agreement becomes a violation of me and of my body if I am not given all of the information so that I can make a good choice. Okay. Now, when people say something like, well, we don't want to tell the public the information because then they might not do it. And we want everyone to do it because we want them to, because we think it's going to be for the greater good of society or for everybody else. Okay. But then that's taking away the individual's choice over their own body. And that becomes a violation. When we take away individuals' choice of what they want to do with their own body, what they're going to put in their body, and we take away that choice when we do not give them the full information about what we're asking them to do. And if given the full information, that individual says, hey, no, I'm not willing to take that risk. That's not okay with me. I don't want that in my body. I don't want to take that drug, right? Then that is their free choice to choose to do what they want with their body. It's not up to someone else to say you have to do this or not, right? Because if we subject the good of the individual, and we get to a place where we are saying we are okay with violating an individual's rights for the so-called greater good, then we are no different than Hitler and Stalin and Pol Pot and these people who are mass murderers, because they believed that. They believed that they were doing something good for society. They believed that they were creating this new and better place in society for people to live in. They really believed that, okay? It doesn't matter how sincerely held your leaders' beliefs are, that what they are doing is the right thing and that they know what's best for everybody and for the world. It doesn't matter how sincere they are in those beliefs. It is the step of violating the individual's rights that rely on them that is the violation, right? No matter how sincere and, no matter how good you think that person is, if they are taking steps that violate individuals' rights, do not give people full information to be able to make a true decision, right? And allow people to weigh the pros and cons for themselves and make that decision without manipulation, without undue pressure, right? We've talked about that before in the deal. If you're applying undue pressure to force people to make a decision the way you want them to, that's a violation of their property rights in their body. So that is how you can use the principles to truly clearly understand what's happening, what people are trying to get you to do, what they're trying to force you to do, right? And that becomes a sword to cut through false ideas, to get to the heart of it, right? We want to cut through all the bullshit and get to the core. We want to get to the heart of the principle of what is happening. When we get to the core of the principle, then we can understand it. Then it doesn't seem so confusing, because with all of the talk and rhetoric out there, things can get very confusing. Well, is this good? Is this bad? Should we force people to do this? Should we not force people to do this? It can become really confusing. But when you understand the core issue, forcing people to do something that is a violation of their body rights, then we understand what is wrong with that. Okay? On the other hand, we can look at this ring of the effect. What is the effect? And we can balance that. So we can say, what is the effect of my choices potentially on other people? How is that? And I can balance that for myself. I have to look at that and say, I want to balance that, right? So that's why we have things like different types of regulations that are not moral regulations, like road rules, okay? We have rules of the road. This is about how do we interact in a way that helps society to run smoothly. So there's there's different balancing aspects in this. But whenever it comes to the core, there's ways to balance it. There's ways to incentivize people, right? Which is very different than a negative manipulation or negative pressure and forcing people, right? There's different ways that you can incentivize people to do things that you would like them to do. And that's not a violation of their rights. But when you are putting negative pressure on them, by threatening their livelihood, by threatening their ability to buy food and to live, right? Then that becomes a violation. Just as it would be if some woman was in an abusive relationship, okay? Think about it. If a woman is in an abusive relationship and she is afraid to leave her husband because she won't be able to buy food, okay? And he throws that in her face. He's like, you'll never succeed. You'll be on the streets. You'll be starving without me, right? You're not gonna be able to buy food without me. See, when we see that, we immediately know that that is really, really wrong, right? We recognize that's wrong. So how do we not recognize that with what's happening in other types of situations? When you are holding that over people's heads, you need to submit to this abuse or to this violation of your body in order for you to survive and to buy food and to have a place to live and a place to sleep, right? Then we are doing the same thing, right? From a philosophical, logical point, we are doing the same thing. That's what this means by this cuts through the bullshit. It cuts through the crap and it allows people to say, I see what that is. Manipulation and force to get me to do something with my body. That's wrong, no matter who is doing it. No matter who is doing it. And if you want to get people to do something, you want people to see things a certain way, educate them about the benefits. Give them the real facts about it. Give them incentives, right? But negative manipulation is undue pressure, and that is a violation of our rights to choose, our rights in our body, okay? So that is hopefully helps you understand how these principles can be a sword to cut through the false ideas, and help us to clearly see what is going on. That's what this is about, all right? The sword. Good to see you, Arshita. Thank you for all the hearts. Hey, nice to see you, Gabinza. How is everybody? All right, you guys have a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm excited. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. I'll be on time. And you guys have a great day, okay? Let me know if you like the analogy, and go back and watch the one I did about the shield too, okay? I did one on the shield as well, so how you can understand how to use these principles as both a shield to protect you and a sword to cut through the bull crap. All right? You guys have a wonderful day. I will see you soon. Bye.